Right, yeah, tens. As part of your revision, I'm just gonna do lots of stuff on YouTube. And it's gonna be very hard to do stuff in class. So YouTube videos, and there might be a little small Google quiz, but it's so important that you take the time to look at the stuff I'm showing you guys. I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can, but I can't promise you anything. So let's look at one of these questions, a hard question kids always struggled on. These are always past paper questions. So look at it, look how I want to show you it and see how it goes. So first of all, this is a question. Look at it. It says assess the extent of challenges created by urban growth in LICs, NEEs. It could be a 6 marker, it could be a 9 marker. So it's important that let's see how you tackle it. First of all, it says LICs, NEEs. It says urban growth. You should clock on straight away that it's a real kind of question. But you lot, I can see, I can probably tell what you guys are thinking. Let's have a look. You're probably thinking, oh yeah, it's just social problems. We can just talk about the poor healthcare, lack of water, lack of education. Kids are getting involved in bad stuff. It isn't just that, and I'm telling you now, if you just talk about these problems, then you're not going to get many marks. Okay, so remember this question. I can see how you can easily talk about problems, but focus on the word. It says challenges. Now, what do we mean by challenges? Students think that problems is the same thing as challenges. What's the difference? So there's a difference between the two. You can't just talk about the problems. You have to talk about what it is as a challenge. So let me show you what a challenge is. So a problem is something difficult to deal with. So let's say, how do I say, the poor healthcare, that is a huge problem for them. But you need to understand what it means by a challenge. So it's very hard. You have to be able to explain what it is, what it means by saying it's a challenge. So healthcare is a challenge. So what does it mean by a challenge? A challenge is a demanding task that you wish to overcome. So you have to, when you're talking about this issue, let's say healthcare, I'll give you an example. You can't just say, oh yeah, there's a shortage of schools, there's a shortage of doctors, blah, blah, blah. That's just telling me the problem. You need to say why it's a challenge. Like, how come it's really hard to overcome? You have to give me a reason. So let's say, for example, here it says shortage of schools. That's the problem, but the actual challenge is because of a lack of funding. Can you see that? So start thinking about what I mean by that, okay? I'm going to show you the examples in a minute. So first of all, let's break down this question. It says LICs, NEE, so this could only be Rio in Brazil. Also focus on the question. It says assess the extent. So that is also a tricky part of the question. Like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, these are the challenges. You have to say the extent. So how far do you agree? So I'll just give you a little hint. The urban growth does create challenges. I'm looking for that to a large extent. You using the word extent. So at least you're addressing the question. The word assess as well also means you have to give other side of the story. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, it's all really bad over there. However, things were improved. Health kits were taken into homes. Okay. And let me show you the knowledge that needs to be written now. So here's the knowledge that I'm going to show you, like actually what will get you the marks when you explain it. So let's go into it. The first one, obviously start off with there are many challenges. You address the question, you say to a large extent, you say where it is. Obviously Rio we're looking at in Brazil. So I'm going to go into it with healthcare. So first of all, if you read what I can show you on the screen, it says, talk about the issues around healthcare facilities. There is a lack of healthcare facilities. There isn't enough facilities over there. Remember that stat we learned in year 9? It says only 55% of people in favelas have actually got access to medical services. So that's a huge, gap. There's about 45% that don't have proper access. But that's saying the problem. If you tell me, oh, it will lead to more health issues, blah, blah, blah. Now you're just talking about the problem. I don't want to know about the problem. I want to know about why it's a challenge. How has it become a challenge? So you need to say this is a challenge because favelas are highly overpopulated. Can you see that? I've put it in bold and underlined. It says, it's highly overpopulated. You have to give me the idea of the size and the scale of the issue. So favelas are highly overpopulated. It's very difficult to manage the amount of people there is in favelas because of high urban growth, and therefore there will be a range of illnesses. So that's what you'll have to actually say. Okay, you quickly say the issue that there is a lack of healthcare facilities, but the way you'd go about it would be like saying how it's highly overpopulated. The issue is very hard to deal with. Okay, I hope you've understood that. talk about the issue on education. So again, you can't just go into it and start writing 4 or 5 lines about kids dropping out of school and they get involved in drugs and stuff. You have to keep that very simple and just say this is the issue. The issue is that actually many children do drop out of education, because school's only compulsory until 14. But the challenge is that actually there is a lack of funding. The schools over there, they don't have access to like that government money, because first of all, favelas are not legally recognized by governments and therefore don't receive full funding. And then if you don't receive the full funding, then what will happen is that actually many of the schools won't be full. There won't be many schools even being able to operate. You won't be able to retain really good teachers. So that's the challenge there, guys. I hope you've understood that. So when you're thinking about this question, this is what I expect. There's going to be other quick ones I'm going to go through. All of this stuff like water. There's an issue around water, but again, it's not about how people don't have access to so much water. The challenge is that actually why is it really hard? Again, because of a lack of investment. You could talk about how Rio in Brazil is an NEE. There isn't always a great amount of money, so therefore infrastructure and favelas can be quite hard to supply this form of water. What else is there? Waste and litter, that is huge. Okay, so challenges can be social, economic, and environmental. So you can't just think, oh, it's all social. You could say that actually there's a range of issues around waste being on the streets, and obviously you could quickly say that obviously that will increase the amount of diseases within the area because of the amount of vermin and rats it can attract. But why is it a challenge? The challenge is because favelas are built on steep slopes, very narrow roads. And therefore what happens is, the issue comes around that you can't really collect waste within these areas. It's very, very difficult. And that's simply because it's built on really steep mountainous areas. So again, that is the challenge, guys, okay? What else is there? I've got, air pollution and water pollution. Now, that's an environmental issue, but it's still a challenge. But again, you can't just be like, oh, this is a huge problem. Don't you say the word problem. You want to say that actually this is a challenge, because first of all, why is there high air pollution? Because first of all, you don't have much public transport available, so therefore many people own cars and much older vehicles in Rio. Therefore air pollution is much higher. Many of the companies are unregulated. Can you see that? Like they're not really bound by laws. There isn't any environmental laws here. They're very relaxed. So imagine dumping something, you don't really get much, you don't get into much trouble. You might get a little fine, but again, it's very hard. So again, these are challenges, guys, okay? So I hope you've understood that. I'm going to quickly run through solutions, because it says assess the extent. So you'd have to quickly also write another paragraph saying, however, there are, things are not always bad over here. The challenges are quite limited because there's huge solutions. We said, to balance the 9 marker, you'd have to say that many health professional went into the favelas. Like, I don't know if you remember Santa Marta, they detected over 20 different illnesses, treated people, improved life expectancy within the region. Homes were upgraded through small loans. Volunteers supported in local schools, helped children out, provided classes. There were new water pipes laid, energy grids provided to help, supply homes with electricity. So, that would be your kind of also, other paragraph there. And obviously, this is a much better to access that 7 out of 9, 8 out of 9, 9 out of 9. Thank you.